So I have a question in regards to a patient you saw earlier today. Is a 2-year-old kid. Do you recall who that person is?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm trying to get in contact with the parents to try to see why the child hasn't gone to a hospital yet. Here are your options. You either come out here and talk to us so we can figure out how we're going to get your kid to the hospital, or DCS is going to take temporary custody of your kids.
Do you have a warrant to take my kids?
We have DCS here that's going to take temporary custody of your kids if you don't come out and talk to us. You're making this way worse than it needs to be.
No, my kids are fine.
Brooks,
You guys are making it way worse than it is.
Okay, Brooks, if they're fine, then why don't you make this simple and come out and talk to us?
None of my kids need to go to the hospital. They're fine. None of them have fevers right now. They have the cough and the sniffles. They're not in life danger.
Yeah, that's not gonna fly.
Chandler Police Department!
Hold there, make more announcements.
Chandler Police Department, come out with your hands up! Come out with your hands up!
Is it a drug raid? A hunt for a dangerous fugitive? Nope, they're looking for a 2-year-old boy with a fever. We are not kidding.
It's a shocking late-night raid. Police burst into a home with guns drawn. And when you hear who they were looking for, you'll probably be shocked because it wasn't a suspect in a drug ring or a dangerous fugitive. It was a 2-year-old boy whose doctor had called authorities.
There's recognition.
Well, Brooks, we need you to come outside and talk to us.
No.
Like I said, if you don't come out and talk to us, and we have to deal with this, make this even worse than it needs to be, then those kids will be taken away and you guys are going to be in some serious trouble.
The police raid on a home in Arizona, authorities showing up with a court order to remove a 2-year-old with a high fever after the boy's doctor called child services. Officers knocking down the door, forcing their way in with guns drawn. Tonight, the family's 3 children are in the custody of their grandparents, and the parents are speaking out.
This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth, and by now you may have already heard of the story of a young 2-year-old boy with a fever who was forcefully removed from his parents at gunpoint by a SWAT team. You may have also heard that this boy was unvaccinated, which prompted the Department of Child Safety to call the police, which then led to them getting a warrant, which subsequently led to the removal of their 3 children. But what you may not have heard is that the Chandler, Arizona Police Department that conducted this ridiculous raid is now recommending that the mother and father be charged with child abuse. So in this video, we're going to examine just what are the parents' rights when it comes to deciding what's best for their child. But just before we do, I'd ask that you please head on over to pressfortruth.ca/donate if you'd like to support my work. There you can donate fiat or cryptocurrencies, or you can join as a member. And as always, the best way and easiest way to show your support is to click the thumbs up button right now and share this video when you're done watching it. Alright, so for context, let's take a step back and take a look at the incident in question that led to SWAT teams busting down the door of a family and removing their 3 children. On February 25th, a mother took her 2-year-old son to a naturopathic medical center in Arizona because he had a fever of over 100. Upon learning that he was unvaccinated, the doctor instructed the mother to take the boy to the emergency room because she feared that he might have meningitis. The doctor then called the emergency room at the Children's Medical Center to inform them that the child would be arriving soon. But after leaving the doctor's office, the boy showed huge signs of improvement. He was laughing and playing with his siblings, and his temperature dropped back down to normal levels. So at that point, the mother called the doctor to inform her that she was no longer going to be taking him to the emergency room because there was no longer a need. Knowing that her kids were unvaccinated, which is not against the law in the state of Arizona, and considering all the hysteria right now surrounding that issue, she expressed her concerns to the doctor that the Department of Child Safety might come after her. The doctor then assured her that the DCS would leave her alone, and so at that point, the mother agreed to bring her son to the hospital. And this is where things began to turn really ugly. According to AZ Central, about 3 hours later, the hospital contacted the doctor to advise her that the child had not shown up and the mother wasn't answering her phone. according to police records. The doctor contacted DCS, a DCS caseworker called Chandler Police, and requested officers to check the welfare of a 2-year-old infant, according to police records. A caseworker said he was on his way to the house. It was about 10:30 p.m. when 2 police officers knocked on the family's door. The officers heard someone coughing. The article goes on to say here, police dispatch told the officers that a man at the home had called, requesting that they call him. They called, and the man identified himself as the sick boy's father. The officer said they told the father they needed to enter the home for DCS to check on the child. The father refused, explaining that his son's fever broke and that he was fine, according to police records. And that's when things escalated quickly. According to Zero Hedge, despite the father's attempt to assure police his child was fine, things escalated. The caseworker informed officers that DCS planned to obtain a temporary custody notice from a judge to remove the child for emergency medical aid. Officers then consulted with the Police Criminal Investigations Bureau and SWAT. Yes, SWAT. I know it's outrageous and terrifying. After 1 a.m., officers kicked down the family's door. One officer carried a shield, while another was described as having lethal coverage. Officers pointing guns yelled, "Chandler Police Department," and entered the house. The father came to the door. Officers placed him in handcuffs and took him and the mother outside. Neither of the parents was arrested. Officials took all 3 children to Banner Carden Medical Center. Let's pause here for a moment to reflect on something. Authorities took the children under the guise of caring about their well-being. The fact that armed strangers snapping children away from their parents and siblings in the middle of the night could be, I don't know, traumatic? Didn't seem to cross their minds? Unbelievable. Unbelievable, outrageous, a travesty, pick your word. But either way, this is unacceptable. And just when you thought the Chandler, Arizona Police Department should have egg on their faces and should be completely embarrassed by this right now, they have in fact decided to double down, and they're going to go after these anti-vaccine parents. Arizona parents who defied doctors' orders to bring sick 2-year-old to the hospital now face child abuse charges. The Chandler, Arizona Police Department that broke through the door of a family that ignored a doctor's orders to bring their sick toddler to the hospital has recommended the mother and father be charged with child abuse. The local district attorney will decide whether or not to press charges, according to the Arizona Republic's Diana M. Nanez, who broke the story. "I'm so scared," the father told Nanez. "Unless the charges are dropped, he's not sure if his 3 children, currently in foster care with their grandparents, will be allowed to come home." The article goes on to say, last week, the police released an edited video of the night in question. 3 hours is condensed to about 11 minutes, in which we see a cop calling the family over and over to tell them that they are required to bring the child to the hospital. "Look," says the cop in one of the exchanges, "I talked to the doctors and they said this could be a possibly life-threatening situation." The dad replies that it is not life-threatening and that his son is already better. "I know you're saying his fever broke now, but," the cop replies, "we need you to come outside and talk to us. If you don't come out and talk to us, then those kids are going to be taken away and you will be in serious trouble." Keeping his cool, the cop adds, "I would rather just have you come out and let us deal with this and let us take the kid to the hospital." The dad refuses. Eventually, the cop warns that if the family does not comply, they will break down the door. At around 1:30 a.m., 4 of them do just that, bursting in and pointing guns as if this were a drug raid. They handcuff the dad and they tell the mom to come out with the kids. She does. In the end, these children were taken to the hospital and they were examined by a doctor, and it turns out the toddler never did have meningitis. Turns out he has something called RSV, which is a respiratory virus. And according to the Kids Health website, almost all kids have had RSV at least once by the time they're 2 years old. In most healthy kids, they don't need to distinguish RSV from a common cold. So the parents were correct. The DCS were wrong, and the police were wrong. And in fact, the only desired outcome that they had from this Gestapo move was to intimidate the mother and father and to make examples of them in order to intimidate other anti-vaccine parents moving forward. So that's what this is all about, folks. We are in fact winning the debate on the vaccine issue, and so now they're moving to drastic measures, carrying out thug-like tactics to initiate the stomping boot of the state on the faces of those who don't comply. We need to continue to warn about the dangers of most vaccines and about these child protection services, which actually do the opposite of protecting children. The father wants to warn about the DCS as well, so he released the following statement. We have been through a very traumatic experience with our encounter with DCS. We would like other parents out there to know and realize the amount of power DCS has over the welfare of your children. Even though we remain confident in our innocence through our case, it is immediately an uphill struggle of what to do or not to do, even if you do not agree with them or the process in which they follow. We thought that they did not have the right to check on our children because they were getting better from what they had last heard about from us. We were in our home tending to our sick kids and did not want to be bothered in this tough time of illness. With multiple children, it is difficult to keep up their needs while they are ill, and to be bothered in the middle of the night by DCS was not something we were ready to tackle. No matter what we thought was right, it turned tragic with the removal of all our children. The process of removal, in our opinion, was uncalled for, and we would like to see the laws and the processes change when dealing with expedited removal of children. Our children have sure been through a traumatizing experience and hope they have not been harmed psychologically or emotionally, as we are a very happy family who love each other and would do anything for each other. We hope to see a positive outcome for our trial, but worry about what the kids have been through. We would like to see some sort of public service announcement by DCS to inform other parents out there that this could happen to them, because nobody, especially children, should have to go through what we are going through. We love our children, and we are doing everything possible to get them back to us. Folks, let's get the word out about what's happening to this family. Please click the thumbs up button and share this video with all your friends and family. And if you appreciate my efforts and would like to show your support, please check me out on Subscribestar, a new Patreon alternative. A link is located in the description below. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching, my friends. Keep fighting the good fight and stay tuned. We've got more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.